Hi there, it's me, Tori D, and today I'm here to talk to you about my current financial focus areas, as well as the items that are currently in my wish farm. If you missed my last video, I got a very large bonus at work, which I was not expecting, but that meant that I was able to adjust and fund some of my current focus areas within my budget. If you're not familiar with my budget, I tend to keep 3 items in my current focus areas tab right at the top of my budget. This even comes above my immediate obligations, such as mortgage, utilities, transportation, because I really want these to be the first things that I see whenever I'm entering into my budget for anything. So most recently, I was able to fund my emergency fund up to $5,000, which is kind of my first goal for that fund. My next focus area that you can see is a New England cruise that my mom and I will be going on in September. We already have everything booked. I have the room booked and everything. Deposit is paid, and that will cost about $4,000. So I'm excited for that. We'll be driving to New York. I'm excited to see that cruise, see the fall colors up in New England and Canada, and just have a good time. The next item on my focus areas is my dissertation fund. So for those of you who don't know, I'm currently a doctoral student, planning to defend my dissertation technically in the summer semester of 2024, so next year. And I am extremely lucky through my current employer that I am able to get tuition reimbursement up to a certain dollar amount every semester, up to a certain amount of money each calendar year. And for those of you who aren't familiar, dissertations can be really expensive, and you're required to stay enrolled as you're working through them, and you need a minimum number of dissertation credits in order to defend. So for example, in my program, I'm required to have 24 credits of dissertation by the time I defend my dissertation next summer. At my previous employer, I was going to be required to pay all of those costs out of pocket. At my current employer, they don't care that they're dissertation credits since you need them for the degree, so they cover up to a certain dollar amount every semester. So I go from owing about $13,000 on the dissertation by the end of it to about $4,000. I currently have $1,500 set aside for my dissertation, and this is also where I draw down as I pay for each semester. So I'm kind of spending some money out of here, but then as I get reimbursements from my employer, I'm putting that money right back in. So it's kind of in and out, unlike the rest of these where I'm really saving things up and then kind of spending all at once after the money's been set aside. This one is getting spent from along the way. So really by the end, I don't know, I really haven't figured out technically, which goal would work best for this. So I'm just kind of keeping my eye on that number and kind of working towards that goal of 4,000 by the end. The final focus area in my top 3, my dad and I are going to be taking a trip to New York City for his birthday in March of 2024. Technically, he is turning 60 this March, but we kind of moved the trip back because unbeknownst to him, there is an Italian-American museum in Little Italy that is not open yet, but it should be open later in 2023 and definitely by March of 2024. So I really want to make sure that we're able to go to that. We'll also be touring Ellis Island. We'll be going to the 9/11 Memorial and a couple other things that I kind of have planned out but don't have anything set in stone yet. So for that trip, I'm really kind of thinking about hotel costs as the primary driver of this, because we'll be spending about 6 days or 6 nights, I don't remember which, in New York. And so that's going to require a fair amount of money to be kind of where we want to be. So about $6,000 there. Then, as I said, these focus areas are just the ones that are currently at the top. So next on my kind of agenda that I will be putting money towards is down here at the bottom, which is actually where I keep my wish farm and my wish list. So after I fund the trip to New York for my dad, I will be funding an iPad. It has just been something that I really wanted for a while. I kind of went on a little rant about how much I want a beautiful rainbow keyboard iPad case a couple videos ago, but I've just really wanted one, and I'm an adult, so that means I can save for it and buy it for myself. So that's kind of what's at the top of my wish farm right now. Within my wish list, which for those who aren't familiar is kind of where your dreams go, and then your wish farm is where they are planted and they are watered. But my wish list, things that are on there, I don't keep this list very long, just because I tend to keep kind of wish list or far off dreams in different locations. So these are kind of like, if you will, my focus areas of my wish farm, or my wish list before they get to my wish farm. So I really want a Ninja Creamy If you know me, you know that I am addicted to ice cream. Like, I can put away like a half gallon of ice cream in less than like 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, but I can put that away very quickly. And ice cream is very high calorie. So I have been watching a lot of videos of folks who are able to make either very low calorie or very protein rich ice creams that actually look really, really good. So I really want that. I am going to be buying my own house soon. I will be having my own pantry where I can store my own appliances, and that's just something I want. Again, kind of like the iPad, I am an adult and I want to buy it so I can make myself ice cream all the time. Which, if that isn't 6-year-old Tori's dream, I don't know what is. The next thing on my wish list is a polypropylene bassoon. So I actually don't think I've mentioned this at all on the channel before, but I was actually a music major for my undergraduate degree. I have a degree in music education on clarinet and a degree in general music on bassoon, but I never owned my own bassoon because they are very expensive, even used. Like, I have a friend who went to a master's program for bassoon performance, and he got a quote-unquote steal on his used Moosman bassoon that was like $13,000. And that was considered like, snap it up right away. That's an incredible deal that's not going to last. So what I am doing right now, I do not do music. I do not do music education for my full-time job. If you saw my bonus, you definitely know I don't do that for my full-time job because teachers don't get that kind of money. I am currently playing in my undergraduate institution's community band. I'm playing first clarinet after I very specifically asked, please, can you put me on second or third clarinet? But here I am on first clarinet. It's fine. There's 4 other people to cover for me. We're good. But there's also a community band the next town over from me in the other direction that has a summer community band, and they're always desperate for bassoons. They already have enough clarinets. Like, not quite as many clarinets as the community band does, but they're always desperate for a bassoon. They never... That's a lie. I think one summer they had a bassoon player, and she had a wooden bassoon, and she was very nervous to take it to any of the gigs that were outside, which as a summer band was pretty much all of them. So for those who aren't familiar, polypropylene bassoons are basically like a very specific type of plastic that still allows the instrument to resonate and create like a very decent sound. I had a conversation with my old bassoon professor from undergrad, who is also the director of the community band that I'm in, and basically told him, like, keep your eye out. If you see any good deals on the polypropylenes, like, let me know. And so I was just kind of keeping my eyes open, and on some of the websites that double read people frequent to look for used instruments, I saw prices for used ones that are going up to about $4,500 or $4,800. All that to say, that is in my wish list. That is probably not going to happen this calendar year. I may start putting money towards it, but it's not going to be kind of quick to go up on the focus areas because kind of my next focus area, which is huge and gigantic and actually doesn't even have a spot on this particular budget, is my home renovations. So long story short, I'm buying my childhood home from my parents. We are currently dealing with some inspection stuff and some underwriting in order to get everything transferred and, all the paperwork signed, everything sent over to me. So I have money in both a down payment fund and a home and garden fund within this budget. However, there are so many things that need done to this house that I have also started an additional budget in my YNAB. I haven't assigned any money to it yet because I'm waiting till after closing and all the closing costs are finalized, so I know how much money I am left with to basically do all of the renovations. So I have everything on this list separated into rooms. Basically, what are the things that I need or I want for these rooms? And within each one, I kind of have them prioritized. So within each section, like, what is the thing that needs to get done sooner rather than later? So for example, looking at the back deck on the house, like, before I can rebuild roofing or even construct a new deck, we need to demo the current deck. And I can't screen in the back porch until we do all of these other things. So I kind of have it there, but then in places like, for example, my bedroom, I want to get an overhead fan before I get a custom headboard, before I do the accent wall. Or my dream, since I have been since the first time I saw Beauty and the Beast, which I was probably like 4 or 5, my dream has been to have a secret bookcase door somewhere in my home. And so I would like to have one eventually that goes into my home office on the 2nd floor, but that is like way at the bottom of that list because that's a very much want, not a need at all. So After I kind of get through the current focus areas on my primary budget, these will kind of be what I tackle next. And in true Tory fashion, I also have current priorities. So basically, as things become more important, or things I should be doing sooner rather than later, they get moved up into this one, and this is kind of where my attention goes first. So for example, there are original hardwood floors in 2 rooms of the house and the main staircase of the house. So I need to get those refinished before I can buy my new vinyl floors to match, because I don't want to buy vinyl floors that look like my floors do now when they get refinished and they turn a different color. And you don't want to do something like this after you've kind of already done a bunch of other stuff. So really the things I'm looking for in the renovations before anything else is getting those refinished, putting aside the money for the upstairs bathroom renovation, the primary bathroom, currently the only bathroom. So then that way that is done as quickly as possible. There's a couple spots that need new ceilings. I want to get everything painted and get all of the floors down, because after that point, for example, like my bedroom, the asks I have in here are a lot smaller for that room when you compare it to the whole house. So once the floors are down and once the walls are painted, it's a lot easier for me to just, take an afternoon and get an overhead fan set up, or after all of that's done, just have the electrician come and do some additional outlets. So none of these things need to be done before I move my bed in, move my dressers in, after it's kind of that paint and those floors are done. So all of that to say, my renovations are kind of the next big thing after my current focus areas. After I kind of spend some money on my key home renovations, I have 2 more things that are eventually going to be moved up into current focus areas. So I have mentioned several times that my emergency fund of $5,000 was kind of my first step. It was tier 1 for that fully funded emergency fund. So eventually I would like to get that up to $10,000. The other thing is, at the moment, as much as it kills me, this is currently sitting in a regular savings account, which has a terrible, terrible, terrible interest rate, but I did not want to open any additional accounts until after everything is closed on the house. So later in February or the month of March, I will be opening a high yield savings account in order to maximize what those funds are doing for me, as well as all of these other kind of large amounts of money that are sitting in a savings account and getting me like 20 cents every 3 months or something ridiculous and disgusting like that. So the other thing that you may notice if you're very eagle-eyed, and if you are, props, but the other kind of goal that will eventually move its way up the list is a cruise down here for fall of 2025. So that is quite a ways away. That is over 2.5 years away. But basically, I would really like to go on a solo cruise through the Panama Canal for my 30th birthday. That will be happening in 2025, and also as a belated graduation gift to myself. Really, whenever I looked at it and crunched the numbers, I couldn't necessarily swing it as a fall 2024 trip to really celebrate graduation, because I just couldn't make the finances work. And I really didn't want to strap myself to try to make the finances work. So instead, what I've done is push it out 1 year, because the particular itinerary that I'm looking at, so it's a one-way trip. This also includes, fingers crossed, getting everything kind of set up the way I would like to, using all of the miles I've accrued with Delta. I currently have about 76,000 miles because I had to do a lot of flying in the last year. But if I'm able to, and over the course of kind of the next 2.5 years, working up towards getting enough points or enough sky miles to be able to afford, a first class ticket on the flights to Seattle. I would really like to be able to, like #treat myself for that kind of thing. So really looking at that, I am estimating about $9,000. That is all in today money. So I have a totally separate planning document in Google Sheets that I use to calculate, what is the fare, including gratuities, what is the cost of the Wi-Fi, the drink package, any excursions I would want to do. This is actually something I have for all of my cruises, and it's kind of how I even estimate to myself beforehand, like, can I afford to do this the way I would like to do it? So for example, this, I really want to go all out. I want to do some excursions. I want to have the drink package for myself. Even though I'm going solo, I want to have a balcony room, which means basically paying double the cruise fare, but it will probably be the nicest solo trip I do for myself. All of that to say, this is kind of my most far off focus area right now. Again, if I technically, let's see, so it's currently February of 2023. If I said I wanted to have all of that saved up by July of 2025, I would need to be saving, hello, maybe I need to go forward a month. No, yes. Yeah, I would need to be saving like $300 a month, which I don't currently have. But whenever you get wild bonuses that are throwing crazy money at you every 3 or 4 months, that can really help save for those in big chunks. And the thing is too, my financial situation is probably going to change a little bit between now and then. Again, I think I've mentioned this before, but with my job, I'm guaranteed at least a 2% raise. I can get between a 3 or 4% raise without really needing to raise any questions, could get a 5% raise through an act of God, that sort of thing. And then I could also, depending on degree conferral, depending on my role, if anything shifts, like I could be getting more bonus points assigned to me, which would mean bigger bonuses. So it really all depends. I just probably bored you to death about my focus areas in my wish farm. So I'd love if you could throw in the comments what you're working towards. What are your focus areas if you have them? Or what are the things that you're taking care of in your wish farm right now? There's obviously a ton of stuff I missed on here that probably in the back of my head like should be things in those places because I have a lot of hobbies that I really like. I have a lot of things that I like to do. I like to craft, I like to quilt, I like to go running, I like to go on runcations, and all of those things cost money. So really kind of being intentional with what are my focus areas and my wish farm while also saving for those other things in different spots in my budget. But all of that to say, like I said, if you want to go ahead and share in the comments, what are you working towards? What are the things that you're excited about, that you're saving for? I'd love to hear that. But otherwise, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.